Let's get started. Good afternoon to everybody. This is Matt Trader, and I am talking today about symbol SENS, Senseonics Holding Incorporated. Today I wanted to share some technical analysis based on the post I had on StockTwits yesterday. I wasn't expecting people to actually like it, and I asked if there was 20 likes. I'll probably do a live stream today, so here we are. I'll get started. I just wanted to make sure that as you all know, this is not investment advice or trading advice. This is just really for information educational purposes only. Trading is very risky and you can lose a lot of money if you don't know what you're doing. This is by no means a recommendation to buy, sell, or otherwise invest in any stock. Trading, I'm also not affiliated in any shape, form, or way with Senseonics. I'm just currently an investor, so I do have a vested interest in following the stock and doing daily technical analysis on it because it makes my decision in investing in the company important, but it doesn't mean that you should follow anything that I say. I've been tracking this stock for a few years, and I've got to understand its behavior, and I have some technical information that I want to share on the chart with you to discuss. So first off, let me change my screen here, just so that we are talking about the So for those of you who don't know Senseonics is a company that works on creating these devices for glucose monitoring, active glucose monitoring. They have been in the business since I think 2016. They've got two main products that are currently in the market. One of them is 180 days implantable continuous glucose monitor. And their latest product is this 365, SENS 365, which is a embedded glucose monitor that is done through an outpatient procedure, and it only takes, I think, about 10-20 minutes for the whole process. But this is very promising. They just recently got FDA approved for this device, and it is starting to build some momentum and gain some adoption by different people. So I believe in the company. I believe in the technology. It doesn't mean that you have to. Financially, obviously, they've had their challenges. They're not by any means out of the woods right now. But today, I'm just going to talk about the technical analysis. The chart really not about the company and the fundamentals of the company. I'll leave that to people who try to analyze companies by their fundamentals. But I want to talk about the chart. So I'm starting off here with the monthly chart just to kind of give you context as to the history of Senseonics. So really, back in 2016, it came on the market. I think it had an open price of $2.71. And since then, it's been a kind of interesting ride back and forth, up and down, based on historical financial results and different product introductions and FDA approvals, etc. So there were periods where the stock went up really, really fast, multiple months kind of rally to settle down, and then another rally, and then pulled back a lot. Back in 2020, during COVID, there was this meme stock, and there was a bunch of good news for the company, and it saw some explosive appreciation of price action. But however, since the peak in February of 2021, it's been sort of in a sell-off mode until recently. So the question is, why am I interested in the stock right now? And the reason is because price and the last couple of months of price action has shown that it has broken out of key technical areas that I'm going to be talking about. So I'm going to move from the monthly chart to the daily chart, and you can see what I'm talking about. These little crosses are really daily average volume. So we start with that, and that's the simplest technical analysis you can do. As I told you, this was been in sell-off for a long period of time, and however, since the beginning of December 9th, we started seeing a price, buyers coming in, and the price being below 5-day moving average, which is the cyan crosses. Usually when a stock goes below the 5-day, that it loses its near-term momentum, and you shouldn't really buying it until it has some confidence or confirmation that it will pass above it. And we had the first glimpse on December 10th when the price closed above the 5-day moving average. It was still below the 20, which is the red line, and then once it crossed above the 5 and the 20, you start seeing more buyers coming in. And the one key thing that I wanted to note is this crossover of the 20 moving average to the 200-day moving average. And I mentioned this in a lot of my posts, but if you go back in time, look at prior major rallies where Senseonics made a big move. This one here was not sustained because the 20-day was just far away from the 20, and by the time we hit the 200-day, the 20 was far away from the 200. By the time we hit the 200-day, a lot of sellers came in and took that price down. But I'm talking about the 2020 rally in particular because that was probably the most, the strongest rally ever for the stock, and this was in 2020 here. If you go back here in this context, the same context I was referring to, we had a huge gapping, candle, and we saw the first crossover of the 20 above the 200. And what followed after that is a consolidation period, followed by continued explosive price appreciation all the way to $5.60, which was kind of the all-time high for the stock. So that key event was important, and it got my attention. And I mentioned it multiple times that if Senseonics would to move really, really high, that's the first test, and that test did occur and confirmed right around here, right before the end of the year. And since then, we have sustained a price above the 5-day and the 20-day and the 200-day, which is all bullish. So just ABC technical analysis, this is telling that the chart and the stock is being bought, right? Okay, so that's one thing. The other part is we broke what I call long-term channels. So I'm going to try and show you here. There's these long-term channels, which are these cyan colors. And if you take a big, context look at the stock price through its history, this has always been what I call a controlled selling channel. Like in other terms, it's an algorithm that's selling these stocks. And the price has been tracking along these channels, different manifestations of them. But if you look at recent times here, we started actually crossing above key channels. So we found support at this bottom cyan channel, which is kind of like historically, which is actually stronger because it was higher than the prior low, at least this channel, with the channel. You can draw one more here just to show you what I'm talking about. So like price could have really tested zero, but it found support at this area. Not only that, it also broke this channel from January 8th, and we tested right now this channel that last time we tested in July of 27, 2023, as well as in February 2023. So that's one area where we're battling right now. The price is battling or kind of retesting. So that's one other factor that made the price interesting. We've had also very large volume bars. So if you look at the average daily volume that came in over the last few sessions, we've had obviously a huge day here on January 10th, 129 million roughly. But also, overall, we have major green bars here above the average volume. So that's another bullish indicator. And then the last two items are these oscillators that I track. One is just showing kind of whether it's overbought or momentum is on the buy side or on the sell side. And this green line here represents the buyer stepping in, outbidding the sellers, which is the red line. So not only did the buyers outbid the sellers and start crossover, but also this yellow or orange line is kind of the momentum. And so the buying is carrying over that momentum with it and tested a couple of times. So that's by itself is very bullish. If you look back at history when this might have occurred, we've had kind of a period here where we had a little crossover with a little bit of rally. it was very, very pronounced, probably back again in 2020. So when you go back to prior time in 2020, when this happened before, and I apologize for going back and forth, but I just want to tell you about the story here. So right here, we see the same kind of behavior where we had a crossover, and it's very, very small to see here, but we had this crossover and huge momentum to the buy side that resulted in, you know, a sustained period of probably a couple of months at least where that happened. So that's all good. And then the last oscillator down here is another oscillator that I checked for overbought, oversold. And from a daily perspective, we are touching on the edge of being overbought, and that's one thing, you know, to keep in mind as a concern, as an ongoing concern. So when we check this boundary here at this limit of 28, roughly 28.30, that's kind of overbought condition. Every time price came there, we had a little sell-off, right? But the key bullish part is that we're above the midpoint, the zero line. So that means that the buyers are in control rather than the sellers. And they protected it once. They defended it here on January 8th. So these are all bullish signs. Now, as an ongoing concern is obviously whether we continue to either do consolidation, which would take this indicator slightly lower, which is a good thing, a healthy thing for potential price movement higher. But also, you should also be noting that if we cross below the zero line for a sustained couple of days, that's also potentially a sign of reversal where the price might dip back lower. So with that in mind, let's go and check what other. So these are the things that, you know, chart characteristics that I thought were interesting and kind of solidified this bullish momentum for Senseonics. So let's look at some also buying channels. So I'm gonna hide this one for now, but I want to show you these trend lines. So right now, if you look at what kind of current algorithms are in control of price action, we have this green sustained channel that started somewhere around December 9th. We've tested the upper boundaries of that channel. We actually did not go all the way down to the boundary, lower boundary. We're kind of like in the midpoint of that channel, and we showed some bullishness here, and another test, and another pullback. This time it pulled back all the way to the bottom of that channel. Huge candle up, tested the upper boundary, another pullback, and then now we're testing the boundary again. So we've tested it 4 or 5 times, and obviously it is a major resistance, but it's showing that somebody's in control. In this case, it's buyers in control, right? So they're taking it to that level, but they're also defending the bottom channel. And within those channels, there's also a couple of what I call selling channels. So every time, so this blue and this yellow, they have different slopes, and the slopes kind of indicates the momentum of the pullback. So when you have the blue slope channel, that shows that, you know, there's more liquidity building. They're trying to extract liquidity from buyers that were here. However, it did not take it all the way down to the bottom of the channel, which is kind of bullish. We broke above that. And then if you look at the yellow channel, which is a less steep channel, it also is showing strong bullish momentum because we've tested the bottom a couple of times here, but since it's a tapering channel or a less steep channel, that shows that the buyers are still kind of accumulating. They're trying to shake out some of the initial buyers, but they pull down the price so they can buy higher. So blue and yellow are kind of the 2 major channels on the selling side, but they're really controlled selling by both. And that continued, that same 2 channels continued over the daily chart. So we had a major breakout here of this yellow channel back again on the 10th, tested the upper channel, green channel, pulled back with the blue and the yellow. In fact, we only bounced off the yellow, so that's pretty good. We're not challenging really the bottom of the blue channel, which is all good indication that the price momentum remains still on the buying side. So where do we go from here? So things to note that we have a lot of supply zones coming our way. So if you look at the chart, obviously there's so many buyers that bought here, so many trapped bonds, bag holders, whatever you want to call them. and they're going to try and take advantage of any opportunity where the price comes to these zones and get out. So let me show these zones to you and talk about them a little bit. So all the green zones are demand zones. That's where price came and tested and found buyers. So as long as we are above these demand zones, one from January 8th and one from January 15th, we remain healthy. Anything break below the 0.42 or 0.43 is not a good sign, because price would have at that time broken the 5 and the 20-day, which is usually not a good sign. So if you start seeing price going to that zone, know something is different and the chart characteristic is changing. From a supply perspective, right now we're battling two major supply zones. One of them is from August 4th and one of them is from March 16th of 2023. So that's almost 2 years ago. So the likelihood of price breaking through these easily is very, very low. Most likely we'll be struggling in this zone for a while. Most optimistic scenario, we go to maybe the dollar, check the dollar area, pull back if we have momentum. Medium case scenario is that we just chop in these two zones for quite some time to either cool off these oscillators, to shake out some of the long-term holders. But just know that these are the major, kind of zones where price is going to be challenged. And also back to the long-term control channel. So right now, like I showed before, we did touch this selling channel and trace back. So how far we might go down could be down to test this region here again, the 60s, middle 60s, or maybe upper 5s. But that's kind of the logical thing, that the price might come back and check these zones and before bouncing back and maybe doing something like that. But that's going to take some time. But that's kind of the scenario I see. The other one thing to look about is the anchored VWAPs. So there's a bunch of anchored VWAPs over different time frames. And these are basically, that's the average weighted volume price. So it takes into account not just the price, but also the volume. Kind of like the VWAP where it's on a daily session. On an anchored perspective, you can anchor it to any specific past date and find out where the average buyer's transactions occurred. So all these green lines are various VWAP lines from different peak, prior, price, max point. So let me go back here just to show you some of these green lines where they originated. These were from prior highs. So that means the average volume and the average price that was paid at this juncture in time is currently sitting, around here. So, which is a major hurdle. So these are all major hurdles for the price. So if we do clear these red zones, supply zone, we do have a major VWAP area at 1.03, 1.04. And as time passes and there's more volume, those tend to come down until they start reverting back up. But once price crosses that means that the average person who bought at this point, at this anchored point, is in green. So again, another challenging area here between where we are right now and probably $1.30 is kind of an area where there's going to be a lot of battles. And just be aware of that we have these zones here that are all hurdles to overcome. So it's not all rosy, it's not easy roads. Obviously, any major PR by the company where we see accelerated adoption of the device, potential acquisition rumors, or some positive announcements by the company in terms of management shuffle or insiders buying forward. All these are good momentum things that potentially could help the price break through these barriers, but without them, most likely we're going to just chop a little bit in this region here. That's how I see it. And as long as, like I said, the price doesn't fall below these green zones, I'll continue to be an investor. I think the major red sign for me is going to be a break of any of the average daily volume, especially the 20. or if we cross again the 20 below the 200, that's not a good sign. So that's probably what I'll pull out and wait to a better point to enter. Let's see, what else do I want to talk about? Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of where I see it. Just remember, there are potential fundamental issues that might impact the price positively and negatively. So positively, I talked about that, accelerated sales or adoption that we do not anticipate and might be a surprise to the market. An acquisition by some larger company like Dexcom or some other tech company that's interested in embedding the sensor as part of their portfolio, or just regular time to cool off. So we need some cool off for the price to kind of steadily do another consolidation area before the next leg higher. On the negative side, what things that could impact price? Obviously, if the company decides to dilute more shares, or they decide to do a reverse split again, or put that on the table. We also may have, if there's any issues or news about issues with the installation of these devices, where somebody might have had a concern, or some negative news that's also not good for the company, or a major silent disruptor. There might be other companies, in the silence working in the background. However, those should be known, because if they want to get FDA approval, those applications would have been submitted a long time ago if they want to be competitors. So right now, only Dexcom, I think, is the only competitor for Senseonics, and they do not offer a product that's year-round. And in order for them to get to that level, they're going to have to either invest heavily in R&D, buy the IP from Senseonics, or have some other technology that we don't know about yet. All right, with that, I'm going to conclude, and I appreciate everybody's participation today, and I'll keep this on the channel if you're interested, and if you have any questions, shoot me at StockGrids on Matt Muster at StockGrids. So if you have any questions or want to make any comments, please do. Appreciate it.